Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we have got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. It's the basketball episode. Kent, casual Big Ten, is here, and Java Shaps, is back with us once again. Shaps, man, it's been too long. How you been? How's the offseason been? What's going on?
Yeah, it's nice to be back on. Usually I only come on after heartbreaking Illinois losses. I think the last time I was on was after the UConn loss. So it's good to be back. Been enjoying the summer. Sad that it's starting to come to an end, but football is in the air, so that's good. And I should also mention too, I'm playing kind of hurt in this one. I burned the roof of my mouth eating a piece of pizza just before we came on. But we're gonna battle through it. We're gonna battle through it.
So you're on the injury report then, Shaps, questionable with pizza burn.
Yeah, this might be
Yeah.
my Jordan flu game.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Kent, casual Big Ten, did you have pizza tonight, and are you injured or not?
I'm not injured. I'm 100%, but my 100% is probably like Shaps at like 60% normally, Like I'm not that good to begin with. So, I'm so happy that Shaps is back. I think I DM'd him after the last time we were on. I had so much fun last time he was on the show, but I have to know though, dude, like Illinois guy, we've talked about this many times on the show, JR. What's the best Chicago pizza? Have you answered that already on this show?
I have not been posed that question on here. So where I grew up on Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza. It's by far the best. The only one that comes close is Pequod's in Chicago, but you have to eat that in person for it to be good. Malnati's travels well, which is very nice. That's my favorite. That's what I grew up on. I worked at a Malnati's when I was in high school, so I'm a little biased, I guess, too. Uh, there's this kind of new trend now where people say, "Oh, only the tourists eat deep dish." Like our real pizza is the thin crust, the tavern style, the square cut kind of pizza, and I love that pizza too. But like New York thin crust is way better than Chicago thin crust. I think the deep dish is what separates us. It's just people eat a lot of bad deep dish pizza. There's a lot of bad deep dish pizza. Malnati's separates itself.
And by far the leader in the clubhouse right now, by the way. I think you're the fourth person to say that. I was the first. I know we had at least one other, maybe two other guys say Lou Malnati's. And you're 100% right, by the way. Pequod's is second. It's right there. So good.
Yes.
So good.
Pequod's is incredible when you eat it in the restaurant. It's amazing.
Kevin Greenwood says Uno pizza.
Again, Uno's is fine when you're in the restaurant. It's good. Otherwise, it's just kind of okay.
Wait, what kind of pizza did you burn your mouth with tonight, though? After we're talking about all this
Bad
great
omen.
pizza, was it anything good or no?
Yeah, it was a local place. That's more the thin crust style. We actually get the double dough from there. Big fans of that one, which is like a little bit thicker. So still delicious. That's why I got too excited. It was still hot.
Yeah. Understandable mistake. I mean, I would have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I love the pizza talk, guys, we do have basketball to get to, and we have a very serious basketball conversation to get to first. Top 10 mascots. Okay. Yeah. The top 10 mascots put together by Betway Insider. He has a top 10 list here. 4 Big Ten mascots in the top 10. Take that, SEC. Terrible people. They do have 2 in the top 5, but you know what? So does the Big Ten. So get over it. 3 ACC teams in there, and then only 1 Big 12. So the Big 12, they say they got the best teams. Well, your mascots stink. All right. We have Brutus Buckeye number 1, Mike the Tiger for LSU number 2, Sparty Michigan State number 3, number 4 Albert Gator from Florida, number 5 Sebastian the Ibis from Miami. I apologize. I didn't do my homework on how to pronounce
Didn't know
that.
his name.
Number 6, Goldie Gopher from Minnesota. Number 7, Duke Blue Devil, Duke, obviously. Number 8, Ramses from North Carolina. Number 9, Big J, Kansas. And number 10, Testudo, Maryland. I just love that name, Testudo. Kent, you tell me, does the Big Ten have the best mascots out of every conference?
Best, I think yes, they definitely have the best mascots. But I'll just say for my own personal taste, though, I like the weird ones. I like the weird mascots that like kind of creep you out. You don't really know what they are. So for me, we don't have the best ones, but for like this guy is representing our school. It's like a fun mascot. It's nice to look at and it's iconic. Definitely the most iconic ones in the land for sure. So yeah, I have to agree that we have the best, and it just kind of depends on what your best is. You know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, it comes down to when you describe best, do you mean most unique? Do you mean most iconic? Do you mean like most likely to scare you in the middle of the night if you think about them? Because Testudo is right there if you're thinking about like scare you in the middle of the night. He is very far up there. Shaps, your opinion, Big Ten best mascots? Yes or no?
Well, this only came up as a topic, I imagine, when JR saw Ohio State Brutus at the top
It's
of the
the
list.
only thing in basketball we're gonna be number 1 in. So I have to bring it up.
The Big Ten, yeah, as mentioned in the comments here, I wouldn't say the Big Ten has the best. You can make the argument if we still had Chief Illini Weck. He was the best mascot in the land. So once they took him away, we had a huge step back, I would say. Bringing in Oregon is definitely a boost for sure. That stupid duck who's
He's everywhere, man.
Yeah, he's very popular. I'm sure you guys have seen, he is literally everywhere, making the rounds, and people are getting really mad about it. I think
Especially
people see
Indiana fans.
Yeah, about the rock that no one cares about. And I think people also seem to think that those are real pictures. Like they're actually flying the duck around to every single stadium.
Wait, hold on. I think that. Are they not doing that? They're not
There's
driving
no
this
way.
duck around?
There's definitely a Photoshop.
Okay,
where
I was
they're just putting him
imagining
in.
like
I don't think so. I don't think so.
3 dudes just got into a car together and decided to drive to all the Big Ten schools, and they went to Dan Lanning and was like, Dan, we have this great idea. But they're secretly like the most annoying interns that he has, and he's like, yeah, guys, go. Yeah, be the duck, go everywhere. And then finally they leave, and the whole staff is like, thank God these guys are gone.
The duck outfit, by the way, is like less than $450. Like, we could do this right now if we wanted to.
We could have the duck.
Like, we just buy 3 of them and we
podcast.
could go around and do this. Like, anyone could do this.
It would be easier for us being actually closer to more Big Ten schools. No, I really don't think he is actually traveling. I think the power of Photoshop is very strong these days. I think if he was actually going to these schools, there would be videos of him like walking around and stuff. Instead, they're just taking pictures in front of the gates and everything. So no, I am on to you, Duck, and I'm on to your game here. I believe it's all fake, but I like the content because people are getting really upset about a duck. So I do like the duck.
You also believe the moon landing was fake?
No, that was real.
Okay,
pretty sure.
Just
pretty sure. The duck.
I haven't seen any videos. All I've seen is pictures. So
Yeah, there's some videos out there. I know you could say it was in like a sound stage or something. Video was pretty bad back then. I am going to see the duck in person. I'm going to Eugene for the Illinois football game in October. So pretty pumped. Get a good look at the duck. But I tend to like, the live animal mascots, where I don't think the Big Ten has any, unless I'm forgetting one.
I don't think so. I don't think
there was
they
a
have any
badger at
now.
one point, wasn't there?
Was there a badger?
I think he was only at football games though.
Washington used to have, because it's funny that we're talking about
they
this
got a
right now.
husky, don't they?
They used to have a real husky, but they don't anymore. Now they have a costume one. I don't know if they
Okay.
still bring a real one to the games or not.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Purdue
thinking
has a
I'm
live train.
definitely.
Purdue has
Who's
a
got the
live train. It's just at the football games, not the in that.
So
big
I am
drum.
definitely veering more into the football realm when I think of my favorite mascots, because that's where you see the live animals come out, like Uga at Georgia, or Mike the Tiger, who's on the list, Bevo at Texas, Ralphie the Buffalo at Colorado. Those mascots are awesome. That's what I would like to see more of in the Big Ten. We got to get some real animals.
That'd be sweet.
Get a gopher. So, well, some of these are people, like a Spartan. Can't really.
Yeah, there aren't that many
Not many
animals.
live Spartans.
There aren't that many animals in the Big Ten, I guess.
But
So
hey,
that is disappointing.
Purdue Pete was left off, and I got to be honest, I was a little surprised by that. Ken, were you surprised that the creepiness of Purdue Pete was left off?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's not to sound like a Purdue major supporter here, but I think it's a travesty. He should have been number one. He's the best.
Let's not go
mascot.
crazy there.
No,
Ken. Okay.
I'm gonna go crazy right now. I thought Pete should have been number one. I think it's crazy. Shaps alluded to this. The Duck's not on here at all. Like, what is going on? Sparty's too low. I think Sparty should be ahead of Brutus. No offense. Sparty's a great mascot. I think Brutus is great too, but that could be your top four right there. I think it goes Pete, Sparty, Brutus, and then whoever else I just mentioned that I forgot about already. The Duck. Yeah, the Duck should be number 4. So yeah, I think it's crazy that Pete's not on there. He's the best mascot. He takes the funniest photos. He's creepy. Everybody loves him. It's every picture I've ever seen of him is just hilarious. So yeah, he's my favorite mascot in the conference for sure. He should be number 1.
The Cornhusker is underrated too. I would not want to wake up and have the Cornhusker standing over me.
Well,
I don't know if he has...
or Lil Red, because there's two. The
Lil
Red is like the weird. Yeah, the Lil Red is the one with the really tiny arms. He's like a blow up guy, and then Herbie the Husker is the one that is just torso up, and then the whole bottom half is like a guy wearing jeans.
What? I don't think I've seen that one.
You've not seen these?
I gotta look that up.
I think.
Okay, hold on. I gotta bring them up.
The big one is probably the one I'm thinking of with the overalls.
Herbie. That's Herbie for sure.
All right, hold on. Let me share my screen here. I have.
What's the other one's name?
Lil Red.
Lil Red. Lil Red. Now welcome to the stage, Lil Red.
All right. Okay, so this is what I have here on my screen.
Okay.
Herbie.
Yeah, Herbie.
But then Lil Red, right here. It's not a great picture.
But the guy's just wearing shorts below that, though?
No.
Okay.
Herbie's the one with the jeans. See?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Lil Red
scary.
before. That one, to me, I don't like that one. It's too it's not professional enough for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It looks like that's standing outside of a Walmart, hey, come on in. Its step cousin is the flailing inflatable arms guy. That's what that looks like to me.
My question is do his arms actually remove from his body? It looks like half of his arms are connected, and then you can only move the elbows down. I don't know.
Only Lil Red knows.
Only Lil Red knows. That's true. All right.
I would have loved to be a mascot, by the way. I think that would be just such a fun job. Everyone's excited to see you all the time. You get to dance around, minus the kids want to take pictures with you because that sounds creepy. But
oh, there we go. Lil Red equals big boy. You guys ever ate at Frisch's?
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, yep. I couldn't remember, but definitely big boy.
Great find.
Call up. For sure.
Herbie, I thought that was VW. Also a VW bug. Yes. All right, good mascot conversation there, guys. We'll move on to non-conference schedules. All right, so I will admit I got this information from Torvic, and first thing Shaps told me was that I got some Illinois ones wrong. So if there are some wrong ones on here, do not come after me. Got these from Torvic. Go after Torvic. But there are some Big Ten teams that are playing a whole lot more Power Four conference teams in the non-conference this year. I will say I don't think all of these are set. Like I think Michigan State and Indiana still seem to be adding some more. Washington doesn't even have a single Power Four opponent on their schedule right now. I checked multiple sites and didn't find a single one, so they're just not even on the list. I just left them off. It was hard enough to fit 17 teams on here. I didn't want to do 18, especially if I'm just doing their name because they're not gonna schedule a team.
Yeah, with an NA.
Right. So Purdue and Ohio State both with 5, Michigan and Illinois with 4. I will point out Illinois does also play Missouri, but Shaps did not consider them a tough game. So, you know.
I don't take them seriously. No.
Yeah. I guess we could have put Chicago State on for Northwestern after last year.
Hey.
Are they playing them again?
Relax.
I don't know. I just figured they were. Maybe they aren't. Maybe they took them off the schedule.
They probably don't want that smoke again.
Yeah. So yeah, Shaps, I mean, we'll go to you first here, man. I mean, your thoughts on what non-conference games that are scheduled are you the most excited to watch in the non-conference slate?
Well, it might be a little biased, but Illinois definitely has the hardest slate in the conference, I would say. You still got a mistake on there. You got Auburn instead of Arkansas, but that's okay.
Oh,
I would rather play Auburn because I hate Bruce Pearl so much.
Why?
That would be an Illinois payback. When you do you actually want to know the story?
Oh, I know why.
Okay, good. We've probably talked about it before. Illinois' slate is very, very impressive with those 4 big teams. So those will be very exciting games to watch. Duke, especially, is going to be. That game's actually in February, like in the middle of the Big Ten season at Madison Square Garden, which is pretty crazy. It would be curious to see like where the teams are ranked at that point, and Duke with Cooper Flag, you know, after like a few months under his belt, that should be pretty fun. Ohio State has a pretty nice schedule, I would say, for sure, with Texas and Auburn and Kentucky. Diebler taking on some tough opponents, or I don't know if those were like already scheduled or if he set some of those.
I think he set Auburn, and Kentucky is the CBS Classic, so you just get one of those. But I think he set Auburn and Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah. So like those games will be pretty fun to watch. Wisconsin at Arizona, or actually at home against Arizona, jumped out to me as well. Those are 2 teams that like have some big question marks coming into this year. They both lost a good deal of talent. So we'll be curious to see how those teams match up. And then I'm excited to see some of the new teams too. It's a huge, Mick Cronin is looking for a big bounce back this season. So playing against Gonzaga is going to be a huge test for them. Excited to watch that one. Musselman now at USC. So like excited. St. Mary's is always tough. So that game will be interesting to watch. It'll probably be on at like 11 p.m. Central Time. So I probably won't watch it, but I like the idea of watching it. It'll just be on too late for me.
Marquette and Creighton are in there a couple times. St. Mary's in there a couple times. There's kind of like some weird teams that are playing multiple Big Ten teams this season. Of course, Creighton and Nebraska play. I think they play every year, if I'm not mistaken. Kent, your thoughts, Kent, on some exciting games that you're looking forward to watching in the non-conference slate.
Yeah, so like when I look at something like this, I start with the teams that are at the top or where I think are at the top right now. So I basically have like 4 teams that, I think are the top 4 teams in the conference right now. So I look at theirs first. So I start with like Purdue and Indiana. I'm not really super excited about either one of those. I think Indiana scheduled like one of the softest like non-conference schedules ever. So like I get it, like they're going to pick up a bunch of wins, but I'm not really like excited about their non-conference games. I'm more excited about them here in conference.
South
Purdue,
Carolina
like
was
obviously
okay
against like
last year.
Alabama. What's that? I'm sorry.
I said South Carolina was okay last year. I mean, they made the tournament. They did better than usual. We'll see. They could have a
Yep. I
Missouri
think
drop
I
off,
think though when
but
I compare it to the other teams like that I predict to be at the top, which is Purdue, UCLA, and Illinois,
right.
there's no comparison
Yeah.
with their non-conference schedule. So, for Purdue, I would say the Alabama game is going to be awesome. Marquette game's going to be fun. But I totally agree with Shaps. I think Illinois has the hardest one, and I think it's going to be the most fun season to watch, especially if we're just talking about the non-conference. But then I'll add one more too. Like he talked about Cronin already, but I'm super high on UCLA. And at this point in the year, until we really see like some of these guys play, especially some of the teams that we're talking about in the non-conference, like we don't really know what games we should be getting excited about at this point. So I will say I'll go with the fun Jersey matchups. You give me UCLA and North Carolina, like, bro, if I'm looking at all these games, if you were like, you can only watch one of these games, that's probably the one that I'm watching. And I'd be really excited to watch it. But all 3 of those games, Arizona and Gonzaga too, like, yeah, I'm just really excited about watching UCLA this year. I'm excited for Cronin. And so all 3 of those games, and then like the other ones that I mentioned for the other top teams. The other teams, like, I'm not saying that I'm not excited about any of the other games because, even like a Northwestern and Butler, like, will be a fun game. But at this point in the off season, I have to look at the teams that I would think will be at the top and what games I'm excited for those teams.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see UCLA Gonzaga. See Mick Cronin versus Mark Few there. That's going to be a really cool game. I'm
Sky Clark
surprised. Yeah, Sky Clark.
back.
Surprised neither of you guys mentioned Michigan and Arkansas. That Dusty May meeting back up with John L. Davis, and I think John L. Davis is getting a ton of hype. I think I saw the 365 Rob Doster and his crew. They ranked John L. Davis as like the most impactful transfer, which
I didn't know that's where he went.
yeah, he went to Arkansas to be with Kentucky. What's his name, dude?
Gotta give me a second.
Cal.
I'm just hearing this for the first time.
Yeah, Cal. But yeah, I mean to see Dusty go after John L. Davis and his guys, that'll be exciting, especially with Val, the center that's there at Michigan now too. I don't know how Michigan's gonna work this year. This is kind of
Glad.
a side tangent, but like Danny Wolf and Val together, like this is gonna be really interesting to see those 2 guys. I assume they're gonna start together. I don't know how that's gonna work. Shaps, do you have any thoughts on like that?
No, Danny Wolf is really talented. Vlad Golden is just a monster basically. It will be very interesting to see, like the makeup of that team. So definitely interested to see Dusty May and I keep forgetting that Cal is at Arkansas, honestly. We play them and Michigan plays them as well. So will be interesting for sure. We stole Antigua back from Cal. So that'll be a fun matchup.
Did he just not want to go to Arkansas, or did Illinois like offer him more? Like what was the story there with Antigua going back to Illinois?
I don't know. I mean, we definitely got him a bag for sure.
Right. Well, he deserves a bag. He's a fantastic recruiter.
Yeah, and I think his family enjoyed their time in Champaign too, and maybe he just didn't want to go to Arkansas and follow Cal again. I don't know the full story behind it, but it's been a nice addition.
Yeah, well, it's certainly helped in recruiting. Illinois is killing it on the recruiting trail right now. So we don't talk a ton of recruiting on this show, but I do follow it enough to at least know who's doing well and who's not. Kit, You already mentioned Indiana not doing so hot, and they're slacking a little bit on their non-conference schedule. What other teams? Maybe not just like the numbers, but Northwestern. They kind of stand out to me. I do like the Butler game, but Dayton and Georgia Tech are their two other ones right now that really aren't as strong to me. But what are your thoughts on some other teams slacking in the big non-conference scheduling?
Yeah, there it's multifaceted for sure. Like I've heard some podcasts with coaches, themselves being interviewed and talking about the process of making a schedule and how difficult it can be to, you obviously want to be in the big tournaments, you want to be on the big stage, but even though these guys are getting paid now, they still do have to go to school sometimes. And it's already a pretty grueling schedule as it is with how many games they play. So, there's not a single team that I would sit and call out and say, you didn't schedule enough games in the non-conference or enough big games because of how hard it is. Even though I just said Indiana has a soft schedule, I'm not knocking Mike Woodson for doing that. First of all, he's going to get a ton of wins, like I said, and secondly, um, it's very difficult to schedule big games all the time, and with the travel and managing everything. So you can't just go to every single big tournament and play every big game that you want to. That being said, on the opposite side of it, other big schools don't always want to play Nebraska or I'm not trying to call anybody out, but like USC maybe this year. I don't know. So it's a mixture of a lot of different things. So there's not like a team that I would just say, hey, pick it up or get some bigger games or anything like that because of all the different angles that are involved with making a schedule. So I would like to see, I would love to make the schedule and be able to say, I want every single Big Ten team to play the biggest games of the year all the time, but it's not feasible. So I'll be happy with the ones that I do get.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always the coach's fault.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's administration and stuff like that too. I do appreciate the basketball they schedule like year to year, essentially. They do have like some home and homes and stuff like that they have to adhere to. But, with football, it's ridiculous. You got schools scheduling out to like 2030, and that's just crazy. But in basketball, Purdue can say, hey, let's put together a tough schedule here. We didn't mention it, but Auburn, not me, said it in the comments. Auburn's a huge game for them as well. So Alabama, Auburn, Marquette's going to be good again. Texas A&M, that's going to be a big game. So they've really put together a nice schedule there that's going to test them. Berserker says Washington. I said it earlier, but Washington does not have a very hard non-conference schedule. Their toughest game is Nevada, who's in the Mountain West, which granted Nevada is picked by Torvic to win that game by 5 points. So, and they are away, so they're going to Nevada. It's just kind of crazy to me. And then their other toughest game is Colorado State. So I guess I could have put Nevada on the schedule, but didn't pop out to me when I first looked at it. So
I do think it's interesting, though. This is always something that I feel like gets brought up with these non-conference schedules is kind of in my brain, I've always called it like the Michigan State strategy because they always schedule like such a difficult non-conference. And the teams that I think are going to do well are the ones that have the toughest non-conference schedules. It's Illinois, Purdue, UCLA. I would even throw like Michigan State now. Like they always
Baylor,
test
Kansas
themselves.
is hard. Yeah,
it's the exception to the rule this year to me is Indiana, but when you look around at these schedules, who's got the hardest one? It's all the teams that I'm expecting to be good and they're testing themselves. And I think that's the best strategy for a coach to do as much as he can. Like I said, I know there's limitations. As much as he can is get your team to play the hardest schedule as possible and be war ready when the NCAA tournament comes around.
Very true. And Michigan State has the benefit of that Champions Classic or whatever it is to start the season every year. So they are always guaranteed to play Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, whoever, at least once a year. So they drew Kansas this year, which I'm sure Michigan State will either like win that game or they'll lose by, a point. And then they'll get put like top 10 in the country, and then like just slowly go down the ladder. I think Iowa should also be embarrassed with their schedule. We haven't talked about that one yet.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
That's embarrassing. Like that is embarrassing for Iowa.
It's what that school does in every sport, though. They schedule terribly in every sport. I mean,
yeah, the football schedule is even like more hilarious. I saw that one. But Iowa State, which is like they play every year, that's really their only game that, you know, will draw any attention at all. It's bizarre.
right. They didn't schedule
for
Iowa State because they're good. They scheduled them because they play them every single year. Like,
right.
So, Philip brings up a good idea: the Big 10 versus Big 12 challenge. I'd love to see that, but Fisherman has a good point. Big 12 are net merchants. I could not agree more. You look at some of these Big 12 schedules, and they refuse to play tougher teams. Not all of them. There's some tough games on there, but definitely I feel like the Big 10 is putting much.
How
more
many
effort
teams are
into
in the SEC right now? I should know that.
16. They added Texas.
See, I would
and
rather
Oklahoma.
I would rather see that. I think
Oh, that's what we had before. It was the ACC challenge.
ACC, yeah, which I think is still active. No,
No,
It's
ended
not?
last year.
That ended. We have the Gavitt games. Are those still around?
give me a minute. I'm just
Which is
hearing
the
this for the
big-
first time right now.
I think
Give me
the
a minute.
ACC and the SEC have a challenge now together. It's those two.
Yeah, ours ended. Very sad. And then we did have the Big East, Big Ten Gavitt games.
But there's like 8 teams in the
That
Big
might be
East. And
that
there's 18
might be dead now too.
It almost has to be the SEC then.
Yeah. Once there's only 2 conferences in the country, then I guess it will be the Big Ten SEC challenge.
That's true. That's true.
Every non-conference game will be a challenge game.
All right, guys, let's get to Torvic player projections. All right, so Torvic has done this interesting thing. Got these numbers. I didn't even know they were out there. I saw Sleepers did some episodes on it, so I thought, why not just compile them all together and put them with the Big Ten? So we're gonna go week by week and look at like the projected assist leaders, projected rebound leaders, stuff like that. So we'll start with points per game. Here we have Peyton Sanford, Dawson Garcia, Bryce Williams, Ace Bailey, Great Osabor, the $2 million man, Malik Renew, Bruce Thornton, Brooks Barnheiser, there's your guy, Kent, Julian Reese, and Ace Baldwin Jr. Kent, we'll give you for a shot on this one, man. I mean, what overall, just like, what's your thoughts here? What players let's start with this way. What players are too low, and are there any players that you feel like should be in the top 10 that maybe are not?
Let's see. Well, first of all, Shaps, I saw you shaking your head about Brooks Barnheiser. He was on the show before. He's a good guy. We love Brooks.
I saw. That's why I didn't come back on the show for this long.
Oh,
actually.
was it? You're not a big Brooksy fan?
No, I actually like am indifferent for him. It's kind of an inside joke with the Java men of just like this guy kind of just popping up on your screen, terrorizing other Big Ten teams.
Oh, man.
And it just
I
makes
love
no
it, though.
sense.
I'm glad to see him in the top 10 right here, though. And I think that, you know, not to just keep talking about Brooks, but I think that that's a good spot for him because he's going to have to carry quite a load for them this year, I think, depending on, how some guys recover from injuries and whatnot. But, I think this is pretty accurate. I think that probably a guy that I would say is too high right now is Malik Renew. And I only say that because he's going to have so much help around him. I don't think he's going to, I don't know, 16 is a lot, so I don't know if he'll be that high, but I don't know. I think when I looked at this list, I was like, this seems about right. And I don't really have a ton of issues with it right now.
I wonder about Julian Reese, what he's going to do. Is he going to be a 16 point per game scorer, or is he going to be much lower than that?
I think he has to be, though, right?
That's what I'm saying. I think he has to be, but I don't know if Kevin Woolard is going to let him be that. I don't know.
He'd have to get a lot more consistent, and that's always been his issue, is he just doesn't show up for some games.
If he doesn't average 16, though, they're as a team they're going to be under 50 per game. I think. Like he has to get 6. He's got to score 20.
Well, they got
Yeah.
Queen. And who's the transfer guard they brought in? Gillespie. But he's no Jameer Young, so
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have much issue with the top of the list. I mean, Peyton Sanford probably will be near the top just because he's in Iowa's offense and he gets the majority of their shots. So not surprised there. If Ace Bailey scores 17 points a game for Rutgers, he'd probably be like a top 5 draft pick if he manages to do that. That would be very impressive as a freshman to come in like that.
I think he's already projected to be a top 5 pick at this moment, though, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think both those guys, I think both Ace and Dylan are projected to be top 5 picks, which, by the way, I got called out for this. I just found out like 2 weeks ago that Ace Bailey's real first name is Arius. And everyone, when I posted that on Twitter, everyone acted like I was the idiot for not knowing that. Did you guys know this?
I mean, I figured it was short for something, but when I hear Ace, I don't think, oh, what's it short for? I just think
like, could you imagine like your name is Arius? Like he could have went by Air Bailey instead. That would have been way better.
Well, what's Ace Baldwin's real name? You got 2 aces in the top 10.
Let me look it up.
You got a pair of aces.
We got a pair of aces. That's a good start.
It's the money conference. Adrian Tyrone Bailey.
Do you think that having 2 aces is like too many? Like it's almost like a full house of aces?
Yeah, it could be a problem in the Big Ten. Ace came in, thought he was the top ace. Now this Bailey kid comes in, might take the crown. Will be an interesting storyline to follow for sure throughout the season.
I'll keep tabs on it. I'll keep you guys posted, okay?
Yeah, we'll keep an ace power ranking throughout the year. Follow Casual Big Ten for that.
I have a conspiracy theory I've not voiced on this podcast yet because I don't know what the fans will think of it. But my theory is that Steve Peichel accidentally recruited Ace Bailey, and he thought he was recruiting Ace Baldwin Jr. because Ace Baldwin Jr. was Defensive Player of the Year. And Steve Peichel was like, we got to get this guy to come to Rutgers. Can you imagine what our defense would be like if we got him to come to Rutgers? Oh. And so he was calling Ace Bailey all this time like, oh, yeah, man, we're going to get the Defensive Player of the Year. And then he finally shows up because, he doesn't drive to the recruit's house. He just, shows up and he's like, oh, you're not Ace Baldwin Jr. But in his mind, he's like, but this is the number 1 player in the country, or number 2 player in the country. I don't remember who's number 1 or 2. He was like, but I can't get rid of Ace Bailey if he's the number 2 or 3 player in the country. And so he just kind of rolled with it. And then now he's like, I just lucked into a number 2, 3 player in the country because I thought I was recruiting the Big Ten Player of the Year to transfer to my school. I don't know. That's just my theory.
I hope that's not true. And if it is true, I would like to redact everything I said about him last week, and I want to put him at the top of the hot seat power rankings for messing up that badly.
Well, don't worry. We have some coach rankings today that do not reflect highly on Steve Peichel. So he continues to be not thought of very well. All right, Shaps. You were talking about some players that could possibly be. Where's my notes at here? You're talking about some players that could possibly be a little too low and stuff like that. Who's too high here? Like Bryce Williams to me seems like a little high. I don't know. Nebraska definitely needs the scoring from him. Talked about Ace Bailey, 17 points a year. Is there anybody else that's like too high? You think somebody else is going to come in and maybe take their spot or something like that?
Yeah, you just think about like what competition these guys have. On Nebraska, I mean, we know who was disrespected on this list. You have to go way, way down to number 105 to find our guy Sam Hoiberg on the Torvic list, which I don't understand. I think he's going to take a massive leap this year.
We might as well throw the whole list away now that because I didn't scroll that far, so I think the whole thing is null and void at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh, I scrolled. Yeah, I scrolled. Way down there, Sam Hoiberg. Cam Heidi was down at number 99, which I thought was kind of interesting because of all the hype that is, kind of gone into him, like at the end of last season and this off season, where he could be like probably the second best player on Purdue.
He could be. Okay, I gotta say something about this because I've been hearing about this dude way too much. Are we hyping him up too much though?
He had
Like
a
what?
really cool dunk
Probably.
in the
I
national
know
Probably.
that's
game.
all I ever hear about is the dunk, and it was a great dunk. I get it, but like
He can dunk.
It-
Yeah.
it was in a, I don't know, man. How's he on the team all year and like I don't hear like hardly a peep from him until the national championship game because of a highlight dunk, and now all of a sudden he's gonna be like, I don't know. I think it's an appropriate ranking for him. I'm not trying to be too harsh on the kid, but like he hasn't done anything yet. Like maybe he didn't have the opportunity last year, and maybe he is going to be great. But based on what has happened in the past, and he hasn't done anything. So I think it's an appropriate ranking for him. Not to push back on it too much, chaps, but
Hey, I'm just going off, what's coming out of West Lafayette.
no, for sure. I agree with you. Like I've heard so much about him. So like I agree that, if you just take what people are saying about him, he should be like top 10, maybe. He should be in the top 25 for sure. But like,
Yeah.
there's no reasoning behind it really, other than the dunk. And maybe a couple highlight videos that they posted on Twitter. But again, maybe I'm being too harsh on Purdue and Cam Heidi. He could be great.
Probably not. But if he doesn't take a huge leap, I would have huge concerns about Purdue competing at the top of the Big Ten. I'll say that. One of those guys has to be great for them.
Oh,
One of those wing
they lost.
one of those
'cause they
wing
lost
guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven Krall was listed. He's probably just off of like the top 10, but he was listed as the leading scorer for Wisconsin.
It better be Max Klesman.
That would make me very nervous as a Wisconsin fan.
Yeah.
And then obviously the most glaring thing for me is you got to go pretty far down the list to find an Illini. Not surprising at all. I think the top scorer listed was Kylan Boswell. I don't think Kylan Boswell will be the leading scorer, but he has the most, for Torvic reasons, he's got the most data, behind him. He definitely could be. He'll probably be one of the leading scorers. He'll have the ball in his hands a lot, but he's not going to be needing to score as much. And I don't think there will be as much pressure on him to be scoring the basketball, but he'll still get his. It's more like they don't really know where to slot the freshmen and the European guys that are coming in. Because I think Ben Hummerkaus is way too low. I think he'll be one of the leading scorers. And Kasparis Yakusionis. I think
impressive.
I nailed that. Yeah. Shout out Java Jubes. He's always on top of the pronunciations. But I think he'll be one of the leading scorers on the team, based on the fact that he'll probably be a first round draft pick as well next year in the NBA. So it will be interesting to see. I think Illinois could have, 4 scores in double digits easily. And, and the other thing on the list that I noticed was behind Boswell, the next Illinois player was Ty Rodgers. I can pretty much guarantee you Ty Rodgers won't be the number 2 scorer on Illinois. And I love Ty, but that's
not his role.
That's not his role. Yeah. You're not going to be asking a lot of him offensively.
I couldn't agree more. I think you hit it on the head with Illinois. They have to have 3 players, possibly, maybe one player right on that line there, scoring double digits this season in order for them to accomplish what they want to accomplish, because I mean that's the way this team is built. You don't necessarily have a star like a Terrence Shannon Jr. or somebody like that that can score 20 plus and just kind of take the team with them. So Kent, I have Parker Fox numbers, but before I get to that, I just need to say something really fast. Okay, so I know there's not a ton of Ohio State fans out there, and I get it, but I just need to make this comment really fast. If Evan Mahaffey outscores Devin Royal this season, I will punch myself in the face so many times. I will come on here with two just bruised up eyes. Like I will be so upset if Evan Mahaffey, if he outscores Devin Royal this season, I might quit the podcast. Kent, you might have to take it over for the
Write
future.
that down.
Got you.
Yeah,
I got you, man.
I said
Whatever
might
can
on
do
that.
to help out.
I stand by the punching myself in the face. I don't know if I can give up the podcast, but I just might. Kent, Parker Fox, he is in the top 100. So that's pretty cool at 6.4 points per game. You think your boy Parker Fox is going to get that many points?
Well, first of all, I'm confused about why you sound surprised about that. Him being in the top 100. That's what I need to know about first. Is like,
I didn't sound surprised.
obviously he's top 100. Like,
I just said he's top 100.
yeah, like he should be. He should be. No,
I just Googled who the hell is Parker Fox.
you Googled.
So,
That's what you typed in. Who the hell is Parker Fox?
yeah, and so if you're listening to the show like me, Parker Fox is apparently on Minnesota.
Yes. He's not apparently there. He's there heavy.
Allegedly on Minnesota.
He's there heavy. He's a good friend of mine, and I can confidently say that now that we've met in person. And he said he appreciates all that I do for his brand. So he didn't really say his brand. I'm just kidding. He wouldn't say some stuff like that. No, obviously, I think that he's going to get more playing time this year if he can stay healthy. I mean, the guy's getting a little bit older for real, though. So, like, I don't know how many minutes he can actually provide. I think he's like 26 now. So he's been in college basketball for a long time. And
This is
Minnesota's in a massive rebuild right now. So, like, I don't know how many minutes they're going to actually give him because he won't be there the next year for sure. And he's just a great guy to have around, though, still. And speaking of highlight dunks, Parker Fox, I'll put him up against Cam Heide any day when it comes to the highlight reel for sure. His dunks are way better, and he has way, way, way more of them. So if we're just going to talk about guys that are going to be, that can give you a highlight dunk and they're going to be productive next year, Parker Fox is going to be the best player in the Big Ten for sure.
Well, he has to do it in the national championship game.
Oh, that's going to be a problem for Minnesota.
Yeah.
He was.
That's going to be an issue.
He was academic all Big Ten last year. And he was Minnesota's Big Ten Sportsmanship Award honoree. So he's got that going for him.
He was also on when I was doing my podcast. I could start my podcast back up tomorrow, but he came on my show. Super nice guy. Linked up with him at the Big Ten tournament this year for real. And again, also very nice guy. Gave me some inside information about like what was going on during their tournament game with Michigan State. So just a really cool dude. And I'm glad he's still at Minnesota. And like me and JR were pulling for Minnesota all year. So to have that guy, like just even talking to us was pretty fun. So I love him. He's a great guy.
He was probably shocked that somebody recognized him.
He shouldn't. He. I don't know, man. I'm being serious about his highlight reel though. Like he actually had some punishing dunks last year in games, but nobody watches Minnesota though, so they don't know.
Yeah, you made the highlight reel.
I actually did make him a highlight tape to get him to come back.
There you go.
I actually did. It's on YouTube. Go check out my YouTube page. It's on there. It's a good video, by the way.
I'm sure it's great. He's probably not coming on if I'm on the show. So
no, he's
Parker
coming
Fox
back. He's coming back.
can know how much we appreciate him because we've talked about him for like 4 minutes on the show and lost like 6 viewers in that time span. So we're gonna move
there
on.
you go.
Let's get him on. I bet he'll come on next week, JR. You want me to ask him to come on, JR?
What'd you say?
I said, I bet I can get him to come on next week. You want to see if he's busy next Wednesday?
Sure, bring him on. I'd love that.
Let's get him and Shaps on there and be like, here, Shaps, this is Parker Fox. Say hello to Parker.
All right, let's move on.
Sorry.
Coaches rankings. Shaps, I put this in here for you. I knew you were coming on, and when I was looking for some content, I said, oh, somebody put Brad Underwood number 2 in their Big Ten coaches rankings. Shaps is coming on. Shaps has been through so much coming on my show after Illinois losses, so we got to give Shaps an Illinois W here. Do you agree, Brad Underwood, the second best coach in the Big Ten, an expanded Big Ten with Eric Musselman, Mick Cronin, all these other guys in here? Do you agree, Brad Underwood, number 2 coach in the Big Ten?
Brad Underwood is an elite program builder, so we know that. There's probably nobody better. This is not a ranking of the best in-game coaches. That much is clear.
Very clear, because Collins is way too low.
And so, yeah, good point. And there's so I don't have a problem with the list overall. I think it's actually pretty good. We know Brad has his issues, but college basketball is still 90% about recruiting. And Brad has done better than just about any coach in the transfer portal era, still getting highly ranked high school recruits as well. Now he's dipping his toe into the international waters. So I think he deserves that spot after he got over the hump last season. And, just going through the list, like there's really nobody that I'm like, oh, he should definitely be above Underwood at this point, other than Painter. Izzo being at number 3, like we know that's mainly because of his legacy. So, and he should be there. That's a huge part of it.
I was gonna say, is he still the number 3 coach in the Big Ten though? Like, would you rather have Tom Izzo as your coach, or Mick Cronin, or Eric Musselman, or Dana Altman?
If I was to pick a coach right now, I would probably put Eric Musselman number 1.
Wow.
Yeah. If
I'm
I
not
would
mad
just
about
had
that.
my
I can
pick
see it.
of any coach.
I don't know if I'd personally do it, but I can see why you would do that.
I think there has to be a distinction though, like you were kind of saying, Chaps. Like, are we talking about like their legacy, or are we talking about a guy we want to just coach basketball? Like, he's not recruiting or anything. He's just coaching basketball for a team that you built next year. Is that what you're saying you would have Musselman, or are you saying overall for if you were starting a program?
Yeah, I would say overall, like combining all the things, which I think the article kind of said that's what it was. Like they took all of those things into account when making the list. So that's why I think the list is pretty good. I could see Musselman moving up the list pretty quickly, though, especially if he has success at USC.
If taking your shirt off after a big win is a part of it,
yes,
Musselman skyrockets up.
Well, which, preemptive to that is having tons of success in the NCAA tournament.
Secondary. That's secondary.
Right. So that's why he is very, very high on my board. Not the biggest Mick Cronin fan. He seems, we've always said on the Java Men, where Mick Cronin seems like that boss that is, forcing everyone back into the office after COVID. Everyone has to wear like a suit and tie. He kind of gives off that vibe.
He does.
Yeah, and we saw it up close when we played them in Las Vegas a couple of years ago.
The
rest
still wears the suits and everything. He's one of the guys that still wears the suits. He can't dress down and put on like an athletic zip up or something.
Yeah, no, you can't dress down. Like, clients might be in the office today. He's got very important luncheons to attend to. He's doing a presentation in the afternoon. So he's got to be put together at all times. And he expects all of his employees around him to do the same as well.
Listen, that's when I knew Chris Holtman was cooked. When he started talking about like his good luck charm was wearing his suits and stuff. I was like, dude. That's not why. You had Thad Modest players. That's why. Anyway, okay. Kent, your thoughts here. I guess we'll start with too low, like we did before. Is there anybody? I know you're probably going to say Chris Collins, so you can talk about
Probably,
him being too
of
low,
course.
and then if you have any other names that are too low.
No, like anytime we're talking about coaches, it's all about Chris Collins. He needs to be higher. I don't care if he was at 2, I would say he need to be higher. When it comes to coaching, by the way, and to me, like when lists are made like this, I think that needs to be more emphasized because that's literally the name of their job title is coach. And I think that Chris Collins is a very good basketball coach. I think he gets the most out of his players. He's to me like one of the best in-game coaches that we have in the conference. But I'll put that aside for the purpose of the article. I think that if we're really going to take into account recruiting, the history, and how good they are at actually coaching basketball, I think it's kind of crazy that Tom Izzo isn't number 1. To be honest, he's the only one that has a national championship on this list. If you look at the longevity of his career, first of all, like that's crazy that he's been able to maintain this high level of a job for 30 years now. And also, it's not like he's been a slouch at recruiting. It's a little bit of like, what have you done for me lately with Tom Izzo? Like maybe he gets bumped down a little bit, but throughout the course of his career, he's gotten big name guys to come to Michigan State, whether it be from the state of Michigan or outside. So it's not like he's a bad recruiter. So if you take all that together, he has been the best coach in the conference. And there's really nobody you can match up against him when you're considering all the factors. I think that you have to put him number 1, right? Or am I crazy to say that? But because
I mean, if you're taking like his entire career, yeah, I can see that.
which I think we are, right? Or are we just going to say right now who's the best coach right now with their recruiting? Because if you're saying that, then you have to take away everything that they've done before this. So then you can't argue for Matt Painter like, oh, well, Matt Painter made it to a national championship game. And we was like, well, we're talking about right now. Matt Painter lost a pretty big recruit this summer. What about that? Why is he number 1? If he's the best coach in the conference right now, how does he lose a big recruit this summer? Because he's not a Purdue guy? Like, I don't know. Miss me with that. I think that we have to consider their whole career if we're ranking the coaches. So I think that Tom should be 1.
I think if legacy is equal to current success, then yes. But past 3 to 5 years, I just
Okay.
don't think
So
Tom
we
Izzo
go back
has.
3. I don't know. That's always the hard part when making these lists is like, okay, we're going back 5 years. Well, Tom Izzo was in a Final Four 6 years ago. So
Right?
like we're
That's
not
why I
going to
said
count,
5.
you know what I mean? Like yeah, it's past 5, so that doesn't count. Like it was too long ago. Like I don't know. It's tough for me.
I
But
think you
You're
have
learning
to.
you're
I
learning
don't
my
know.
trick there, Kent.
Yeah,
What'd you say, Chef?
I don't think it's like necessarily like, oh, we ignore the past or or we include all of it. I think you have to put some emphasis on more recent years, Painter being in the national championship last year versus Izzo winning a national championship 25 years ago. I think there is a little bit of a difference if I have to nitpick.
I know, but Michigan, it's not like Michigan State. Like how long ago were they in a Final Four though? Wasn't it 2019? That was 5 years ago. That was 5 seasons ago. It's like that quickly we're just going to be like, okay, he's not the best anymore because it's been 5 long years since he's been to a Final Four. Like, what? Brad Underwood's never been to one. How the hell is he in front of him? How?
Because of the talent that he's bringing in versus Izzo.
I mean,
I
you
don't
do
know.
have to
I don't
look.
know if
You
that.
do have to look at the transfer portal today, though, and like how does a coach utilize it? I do think there's a knock against Brad that a lot of his players have gone into the transfer portal. I had an argument about that on this podcast at one point, so I'm not saying Brad is flawless, but like Tom Izzo has just like refused to use the transfer portal, except for Frankie Fiddler and Tyson Walker. Other than those guys, he's just like, I'm only going to recruit guys, and basically that's going to be it, which it's fine if you really believe in your guys, but when you're starting to lose out and, not make the questionable if he made the tournament or not that one year because he was in the playing game, and then now you're having years where people are talking about, is the streak going to end? Is he not going to make the tournament? They were a 9 seed last year, but I think a lot of people thought they probably should have been lower than that if not for their numbers being as high as they were. So, I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you and say like Tom Izzo should be lower. I'm just saying like if we are looking at recency, I can see why that Painter and Underwood are in front of him.
If you go into a season thinking, yeah, we'll be fine with Matty Sissoko as our starting 5, you can't be the top Big Ten coach.
I don't think he's fine. I don't think he's fine with that. He just, I don't know. He's a stubborn dude. I don't know.
Yeah, man. That's why he's not number 1 though, is because he's very stuck in his ways.
Matt Painter is a very stubborn dude. He didn't use the transfer portal either.
He also brought in like 4 recruits though.
Yeah, and he's number 1. Like it's just weird. Like how, I don't know. It's either, to me, like we're either going to talk about their whole careers or the recent. Like we have to set like a time. I don't know. And it's just a list, so it doesn't really matter. But it's hard for me. It's hard for me to look at a list. It does matter. Yeah, that's why we're sitting here talking about it. It's hard for me to look at a list with all these dudes on it and say that Tom's not the best. Even if he had a couple off years where he only went to the first or second round of the tournament, he's done enough to deserve the top spot, I think. Matt Painter did enough last year to say, hey, I'm the best coach in the Big Ten this year. He went to the national championship, did a great job, had a great team, had a great player on his team, had a lot of great players on his team. But that was 1 year. So if we're just talking about 1 year, then yes, this is the list that, Matt Painter went the farthest. Brad Underwood went the second farthest. Brad Underwood did the best in recruiting, I think. And in the transfer portal, Matt Painter kept his players around the best. So yeah, this could be a list for just last year, but overall, or the last, whatever you want to call it, last 10 years, I have a hard time saying it's not Tom.
I think Painter's had Purdue been very, very good the last few years. Nobody has more wins over the past 5 years in the Big Ten than Illinois does. Izzo has been going in the wrong direction. Like you can't argue that.
No, for sure. You're right.
So that's why he's not at the top of the list anymore. If he was like maintaining what he's been doing all along, but he's just not. So that's why he's slowly falling down lists like this. But I don't buy into the Dusty May thing quite yet. I think he's got a lot more to show, at this kind of level. And Mike Woodson still waiting for something to happen at Indiana, waiting for some sort of like real success, not just kind of average, being in the middle of the Big Ten. This is a huge year for them. The rest of overall, I didn't have big problems with the list. Like I thought, they kind of separated it out in the article where they had the top 10 and then they had sort of everyone else. And I didn't think there was anyone really in the bottom, outside of the top 10 that I would rather put in the top 10 and take someone out. You know what I mean? So overall, I thought the list was all right.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue like a few guys down there at the bottom. Like, I'd put Diebler over Willard personally. Probably a little biased there, but Willard is
you can shuffle those guys
right
from 11 to 18. Well, 11 to 17, I guess. You can shuffle those guys around. I think Danny Sprinkle is actually a really good coach, but he's just in a tough, very, very
in here. Danny Sprinkle.
He's got a huge mountain to climb.
What do you guys think about Peichel though being so low? I know JR, you have feelings about him, but especially again, like we're talking about the recruiting thing. He's got the best recruiting class in the country right now. He's 17th.
There's only one ball though.
What's that?
There's only one ball, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is his first big recruiting class. I kind of want to see what he does with it before I give him too much credit, because there have been coaches before that have gotten really good recruits and then they just don't know what to do with them.
But I don't
And
know. I
the
don't know if we're
recruits
putting
leave.
him behind Mike Rhodes though. What has he done? Right?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking like individual names, I would probably put Peichel over Rhodes. There's an argument there for over Diebler. There's an argument there for over Johnson, over
Yeah.
Willard. But
But also, like,
Yeah.
who really cares?
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Also,
it's the bottom of the barrel.
yeah,
The
you're
most
right. Chef's like
interesting.
I was thinking the same thing. Like with guard, I was like, I would take him out of the top 10. But then you look below that, and it's like, well, who do you
Right.
move in there?
Exactly.
It's
And
impossible.
as pointed out, like, guard has won 2 or 3 Big Ten Coach of the Year awards.
Yeah.
Which I don't put too much emphasis on those. And I said, I think we all know why guard wins those awards. When you come in with really low expectations.
Because Painter and Underwood and Izzo can't win them. There are legitimately coaches that can't win. I guess Painter did win it one time.
Painter's won a few times.
But still, like, generally, if you're a top tier team in the Big Ten, you don't win that award. It's kind of like
when you're
football. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, it's not Brad Underwood's fault that he comes in every year, being like a top 3 preseason team in the Big Ten, and they pretty much meet or exceed that every year. But because they point to, oh, you have the most talented team, then you can't win Big Ten Coach of the Year award, even though, like we have been discussing, coach should encapsulate everything, including recruiting. But the Big Ten Coach of the Year award is only about exceeding expectations that were made up in the preseason. So I don't put emphasis on those.
Yeah.
Except for, I will say, except for last year when Chris Collins won it, I think that was a legitimate, Coach of the Year. I think the voters that year actually sat down and went play by play for every single play in the conference and said, this guy knows how to run an offense and set up a defense. And he is coaching circles around these boys this year. So that one was legitimate, but all the other ones, I agree with you.
Collins was 2 years ago.
Was it?
Yeah,
Hoiberg last
and
year.
Painter. No, Hoiberg and Painter shared it last year. Collins.
That's right.
Collins was 2 years ago. Then
who won it this year? Then
Juwan Howard
was
guys. Where's Juwan Howard in our rankings here? He has a Coach of the Year award.
Yeah, see, it's very valuable.
What do you guys? Well, first of all, what do you think Juwan Howard's doing this year?
Chris Holtman won it once. I don't know. Probably training Jace.
Do you ever think about that though? I always think about these fired coaches, and I'm like, I wonder what they're doing. Like,
they're usually like
a high school team.
Yeah, they're taking some time to assess their opportunities. They might be like working as a consultant somewhere. That's more like football coaches, though. I don't really know what basketball coaches do.
They're probably much more level-headed than football coaches.
He's probably playing a ton of golf.
Good for him. I'd be doing the same thing if I was paid millions of dollars to leave. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you look back at like some of the Coach of the Years. Tom Crean, Richard Pitino, and Chris Holtman all won it in a 3-year span.
I was saying, by the way, I was saying last year, as in like last season, like not this past season, but the one before that.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant by that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he was, if you go by that last season, then yeah.
Yeah, like 2023 is what I meant. Like that's when he got the award. 2024 was, yeah. Sorry. To clarify, I'm not an idiot. I just looked it up. I was like, was it really?
He was in the discussion last year, but I think people kept going back to the fact that they lost to Chicago State and they just really could not give him the award.
Yeah. The fact that you brought that up twice tonight is actually hurting my heart a little bit. So if you do it again, I might have to log off.
I don't think I brought him up the first time. I think that was JR.
It was.
Either way, stop it, guys. It's hurting my feelings.
And I did it just to hurt your feelings, Ken.
Never
Fisherman here
forget.
says Howard is an assistant for the Nets. I believe that sounds right to me. He probably did make his way back into the NBA at some point. So, all right. I mean, I guess last name I'm gonna bring up here. I don't know, like Dana Altman, number 6. He did win the Pac-12 last year. I don't know, like. I guess I just don't know enough about Dana Altman. I know he has a super high winning percentage. I know he's had a long career, or is it super high winning percentage? No, super high winning number. I know he's had a long career, but I don't know. It's kind of similar thing with Tom Izzo to me, but he actually did win the Pac-12 tournament last year, so you can't say he's been falling off. So I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on Dana Altman?
I think 6 is as high as you can go with a guy that has a girl's name. I'll just say that.
That definitely was in the article. They definitely talked
That's
about
it. I mean,
names.
that's just that has to be something that they consider.
Yeah. Tom was much manlier. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, Tom, Brad, Matt. I mean, look at those, some strong names. Nick. I don't know if that's like a strong name, but the first 4, I think they might have went like just off like what are the most manly names we can find.
It would explain Fran at 12.
Tough one.
Oh man. There's some solid first names. Like a lot of typical first names too. Chris, Matt, Brad, Tom, Kevin, Ben, Jake. I'm sorry. I'm just listing them all off now. Mike.
We've gotten to the portion of the show where we're just reading names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people come to see.
Yep. If anyone's
true.
left.
Well, we'll just end it here. So thank you everybody for coming and listening to the show. Shaps, why don't you tell people where they can find the Java Men at?
Yep. Follow along on Twitter at Illini_JavaMen. We'll be getting more into the weeds now that the season's coming up, and we're gonna do a football preview show within the next couple weeks as well. We're hoping to get former Illini quarterback Riley O'Toole to come on the show and discuss the upcoming season for Bert's Boys. So we're excited for that.
That's going to be awesome. I've always loved that name, O'Toole.
Yeah, great name.
That's a sweet name. Kit, anything going on over at Casual Big Ten you want to tell the people about?
Just a smorgasbord of things that I'm doing right now. Obviously, every Wednesday night with you, JR. I'm appearing on, funny enough that Shaps is on, but I'm on Locked On Illini every week now, pretty much going forward with, I can't remember the guy. I can't remember the host's name right now, but
Sonny.
I'm on, yeah, that guy. Now we have like an inside joke that we always make fun of each other. That's why I was doing that. But
okay.
No, I'll be on his show tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow, the episode that I did for him this week with him, I should say, is coming out. And I'll tease that it's a very controversial Brad Underwood topic. So go check out Locked On Illini tomorrow, and you'll hear me talk more about Big Ten coaches if you want to hear more of what I have to think. And also doing some streaming. I'm in the College Huddle Dynasty. I beat DK last week by almost 50 points. I just bent Texas over and smacked their butt. And he just said that Rush just also lost by 50. So, man, I think that I'm going to run away with this pretty easily. I don't think I'm ever going to lose in this thing.
Well, you were one of the people that only picked like one of the good teams, right? Like
DK had Texas.
Oh, okay.
And I beat him 62-13.
It's Dylan though. Like
that's true.
We know he
that's
doesn't
my boy.
talk sports.
I love Dylan. But yeah, lots going on. So go follow me on X at Casual Big Ten. I'll be tweeting about all that stuff.
Very good, Dylan. We appreciate you, man. We're gonna have to have you back on the show here at some point. We should have had Dylan on to no, Dylan. He's not Jim Harbaugh. Okay, he didn't know about it. He didn't know what was going on.
Just to clear it up, though, the game, I was streaming the game, so you can go back and watch it. Somehow, when I went up by 19 in the third quarter, his connection got lost. I don't know how that happened, but you can watch it on the stream. We did a rematch. I beat him by even more. I don't know what I don't know why he's claiming I cheated. I didn't cheat. I wouldn't cheat. There's no reason to. I'm better than everybody. I don't need to cheat.
Never lie. Never steal.
Never steal. I'm not,
cheat.
you know, if you do something wrong, you know, if I did cheat, you should come forward and apologize. And today, you know what? I'm not going to apologize.
Okay, Harbaugh, you got it.
Kent gets a show cause.
Yep, there it is, DK.
There we go. Kent Harbaugh. Excellent. Casual Harbaugh.
Ooh. Side
like that one
account,
too.
burner account, casual hardball coming.
Yeah. JR put the cheat codes in for Kent plausible deniability. All right.
Is it really going to
completely-
trick? I'm really wondering if like I win a national championship in this dynasty and no one's going to respect it because I used Michigan. Like, is that going to really be the case? It's a video game. Like,
No.
you
Asterisk.
actually.
No, you fired Connor Stallions before the season. Everyone will respect everything that happened after Connor Stallions.
I could have beat DK in Texas with Ball State last week. I would have
Yeah.
been fine.
Kevin says he missed the top 10 mascots. Don't worry, Kevin. When we get done here, you can go back and listen to the beginning of it there. We started about the 4-minute mark, so you should be able to hear that there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We do appreciate it. Thank you to Kent for coming on and Shaps as well. We'll be back here again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Come check us out.